Christina Salapia, and I am here today to talk about the expansion in the Pacific. Contact with China, Japan, and the islands of the Pacific grew with the colonization of the West. As the West became more thickly settled, Americans' eyes turned towards the Pacific as a source of trade. Hawaii was a very strategic gain for the Americans. Here is Ioe for more details.
Thank you, Christina. Hawaii, like the other Pacific islands, has first been reached by traders, whalers, and missionaries. Americans soon recognized the potential for sugar production in Hawaii, and by rapid investment built the island's chief product. In 1884, by treaty, the United States established a naval base at Pearl Harbor. This was in America's strategic interest because Hawaii allowed America to have a naval base in the middle of the Pacific. This was perfect for trade and spying. There were many sugar plantations in Hawaii that helped America have better trade. In 1890, with a passage of the McKinley Tariff, the American sugar growers were hurt severely by a provision giving American growers a bounty of 2 cents a pound. Pressure from the Americans in Hawaii continued, and the wave of imperialism during the Spanish-American War. President McKinley signed the annexation of July 7, 1898. An organic act of 1900 granted American citizenship to all Hawaiians and made the islands a territory of the United States, eligible for statehood.
Thank you, Ioe. China wasn't something America gained as part of their land, but trading with China was very important. Kaya will continue more about China. Hello, I am here in China. Although the United States did not possess any territory in China, she did have the most favored nation trading rights. Other nations too had these rights in different areas of China. China was being carved up by various foreign powers. The demand for Chinese products, tea, porcelain, silk, and nakin, continued after the revolution. Having seen the British make great profits from the trade when the colonies were prevented from direct trade with China, Americans were eager to secure these profits for themselves. Thank you, Kaya. That was very interesting. Japan was also not something that America gained as part of their land, nor were they very good friends. Arashi is in Japan to speak more about the Japanese.
Hello, I'm in Japan. In 1904, a war broke out in the Far East between Russia and Japan. After a series of Russian defeats, President Roosevelt offered his good offices to help in a settlement of the dispute. At the president's request, both sides sent delegates to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and there, in 1905, they signed the Treaty of Portsmouth, ending the war. Trouble between the United States and Japan arose over rights in the Pacific. Americans were concerned that Japan might try to take over America's possession in the Pacific. An agreement was reached in 1905 to the effect that Japan would respect the United States' control of the Philippines, and the United States would respect Japanese control of Korea. Japanese immigration is another reason U.S. was fighting with Japan. The residents of California were greatly concerned over the great influx of Japanese laborers. This concern led to such unwarranted acts as the segregation of Japanese children into separate schools. This action brought loud cries of protest from the Japanese government. The problem was finally resolved in a gentleman's agreement whereby Japan agreed to restrict immigration to the United States and we agreed to cease discriminatory practices.
Thank you, Irashi. Up next is Ramos speaking about the Philippines.
Hello, today I'm in the Philippines, and Americans wanted control of the Philippines because of the crucial location of the Philippines in Southeast Asia. America needed it both as a new market for Asia due to the surplus of goods within it, and essentially a scapegoat in which America uses to establish new prestige and attain the power of the global dominance. Dominance that is currently possesses. The Filipinos did not like American control any more than they liked Spaniards. In 1899, the Filipino nationalist leader reorganized his forces and a fierce revolution broke out. After the rebellion was crushed, the Americans then expanded Filipino control of their own government. This was done under the leadership of the American governor.
Ramos, thank you for that information. Thank you for joining us tonight. For more information and news, please check out our website. Good night, America.